Good morning and welcome to Money Talks on Radio Kidnappers this Tuesday morning. Hope you're having a great morning. So just like to thank Ken and his team here at Radio Kidnappers again. They certainly do a great job, and you, the listeners out there, for continuing to listen, and you provide us with the impetus and which is really all the energy that we need to continue with our program. Now we're getting towards the end of the year, so if there are any particular subjects you'd like aired or just some additional information shared on it, please email me at stephen@taxowl.co.nz, or you can contact me via the Radio Kidnappers website, and I'll work your suggestions into our program schedule for 2020. So, yeah, scary talking about 2020 already. But with that in mind, there are Christmases coming up. So today we'll be talking about surviving Christmas, in particular from a financial point. So it's a great time of the year. There's lots of Christmas parties being planned. The weather's certainly warmed up. Everybody's smiling. And it's a time to spend with family and friends, which is it's a great time of the year. The other part of it is that it's the reality of Christmas is one has to spend some money, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. It's a great thing to be spending money. The idea is just to plan for it. So it's just good to plan, because the one thing is you don't want to end up coming January through to April 2020 and still having to pay for Christmas 2019. There's also another thing to remember, is that it's the holiday period, so once we have Christmas done and dusted, there's still some kids at home and they have to be entertained, and on occasion that can cost money as well. So I'm not saying live below your means, definitely not, but all I'm saying is let's have a plan. And most people plan, but a lot of the time the plan is in the head. So I suggest that write down the plan, because I'm sure there's a plan for Christmas lunch, and if families are getting together, which aunt is bringing what food. So just extend that written plan down to the wider parts of Christmas and the post-Christmas period. You could make your plan fun. You could put it in a flip chart. One flip chart could be Christmas lunch. The next flip chart could be the finances around Christmas, and that way you can just stick to it and make it a lot more fun. So let's go into a plan, and this is just what I think, and I think the first one is very important, and that is taking care of yourself over this period. I'll go back to just focus on finances again. So you may feel that, geez, it's the holiday time and some of your friends are constantly going out and having a great time, and you feel, you don't think you can do that with them all the time. Look, there's you can look at it and look at the reality of it and go, geez, I should plan better, and use that as an impetus so that come December 2020 you are in a better financial position. The other way to look at it is just go realistic and think there's probably a strong likelihood that all those friends of yours that are out partying all the time, they're probably going to pay for it in the early part of next year, because maybe it's gone onto their credit card. Hopefully they have saved for it, but in reality some of them probably haven't. So don't feel so down on yourself that you can't go out and other people are spending money and constantly going out. The other thing to also consider when you look after yourself is if you've started a health regime, you've been getting up early to go to the gym, or just walking around the park, or you just watch what you eat, and then all of a sudden it's Christmas time and you may just want to let it go. So just take a pause and a breather, and just consider what you're going to eat. For example, instead of 5 cocktails, maybe just have 2 glasses of red wine. if you wish. The other thing is, instead of 5 cakes, have 2 or something. So don't definitely don't starve yourself. Enjoy the time, but just be conscious of it. And like I mentioned before, I'm definitely not one for living below your means, but be conscious about it. So that's with part of taking time, for yourself and looking after yourself. The other thing is just the budget, right? So and planning around your budget. A couple of practical things you could do is write down the names of all the people you wish to buy presents for, and then you could start to prioritize or be ruthless about it and cut people off if you need to, off your list, that is. Then the other option is look at what type of presents you want to buy them, and list it next to the names, and that gives you an idea, and it's just part of your plan. And then a couple of things you could do is buy presents now, or if you've bought presents before the holiday period start, then that's a good thing. You could get some really good specials, and there's no pressure on you to get presents really quickly. The other thing you could do is homemade gifts. I find that people sometimes appreciate homemade gifts more compared to a purchased gift, because they appreciate the time and the effort that you've put in. You've actually sat down and made some type of craft, or baked a cake, or a special cake or something like that. So people, they appreciate the time and the special effort that you've gone into. Another really practical thing is, if you're going out over this period and when you work out your finances, is how are you going to get from A to B? And if you're going to have a couple of drinks, then you will need a taxi or an Uber to get you home. So just keep that in mind, and work that into your plan and your budget, that you're going to need some money to cover those sort of things as well. Now, the other thing you could also do is look at your shopping and have specific shopping days, and that keeps your focus, so that you don't just go off on impulse buying, because you buying in a couple of different categories of things. So, for example, if you have a day set aside and you're only buying food, then you just focus on food, and that's it. And then you get in, get your food, and you get out. You go home. The next thing is presents. You get in, get the presents, and you get out again, so that your mind's not all over the show, and you could then be subject to impulse buying, which could throw you out. The other thing you can do with it is look at the time that you go to the shops, because it can be quite become frantic, as you're well aware. So if it's early or late, many shops will be open later as it gets closer to Christmas. So and try and get your family or friends or neighbors to look after the kids, if you have children, and that way you can go to the shops alone, and that someone's looking after your children, and you can get things done a lot quicker. The other thing is you could manage expectations, and I specifically refer to children, for those who have children, but I'm a big kid, so my wife should also manage my expectations. But let's just focus on kids for now. So, depending on the age of your child, you could give them some money to buy some presents, and that way they can go through the process themselves. They can see how many presents they wish to buy. They can prioritize the presents. They can look at their budget and actually go through the process and go to different shops. And also they could learn some maths as well, as that's just a side issue, but it's a good thing. So that way there's some way of managing expectations, and they learn about the process. The other thing that you could do is they could send letters to Santa, where Santa chooses the present this time rather than they choosing the present. So that's another thing that you could do. And something you may try if you have luck with it, well, then it's great. I was still trying to have some luck with it, but last year's presents could go to those that are less fortunate. The issue you may find is that even though that little present has been laying in the dust, laying in the corner, gathering dust, your child may not want to get rid of it. So that could be something that may have to be dealt with. But the last year's presents could go somewhere else, and that's a good thing from them as well. So we've planned what we want to buy. We know when we go into the shops. We know we're going on one day just for food shopping, one day just for present shopping. We've organized aunt or the neighbor to look after the children. So you're going off to the shops. So a couple of things you could do is try and use cash or debit cards or your phone rather than a credit card or store cards. That way, you're paying for things as you go. Put you in a better position going into 2020. The other thing is many people have different points or rewards programs. You may want to have a look and see what the rewards program actually gives you and what points you do have, and you may use that points there to get some presents for yourself, for yourself or whoever you're buying the presents for. So that's a way that you can do that. And I mentioned before, like on Christmas Day, with people catering or bringing food, different food. If you don't just have to do that on a Christmas Day. If you're having parties leading up to the Christmas, and also in January, especially with the people like cricket, with the English coming to tour the cricket, to tour New Zealand. So if you want to have those different parties, you could ask people to bring specific food along. That way you can still have some control over the type of food you have at your party, and if you want to have a special event, you have control of that. So if you ask someone to bring something specific, it's better than just saying, I'll bring a plate, because who knows what they're going to bring. So that way you can have some control over it, and also help manage your spending. So the other thing that I want to touch on is after Christmas. So we've had Christmas, we've had New Year's, and everything is great. We've come home from camping, and we still have the children at home for another 3 or so weeks before school starts. What are we going to do? So, and hopefully that will have been budgeted for, or there's money coming in for that. So that is quite a thing that I think a lot of people don't think about. But just to help out with that, there's many things you can do. For example, you could get them in the garden and plant some vegetables, or put it in pots. When you do that, I suggest that you have a look at what you are planting, and if it's the right season and the right time. That will, you don't want to have them disappointed because whatever they planted hasn't started to grow. You may not get them into the garden again. So take some time out to do that. And then just some common things which many people have done is set up a camp, the tent in the backyard, and they can sleep out there. Or a couple other things, become creative. People can, just with things that are still around the house, create some crafts and things, and just on creativity as a bit of a side issue. The way I see things is that creativity going forward as a business, and also employment prospects, that's going to be quite a big thing. People that are creative, because as you all know, there's lots of robotics and AI happening as we speak, and they're also well advanced. Some of them do think for themselves and are creative, but there's still lots of robotics that rely on creativity from humans. And if our little ones learn to be more creative, they can find themselves programming these robots to be creative, at least in the short little while, because I'm pretty sure as time moves on, these AI technology are becoming creative themselves. So that's just a side issue on creativity. The other things that you could do with your little ones is cooking. You could go to the library and get a French or Italian cookbook, and they can whip up some meals for lunch or dinner, and just try things, so that would keep them busy. And then finally, the other thing that you could do is go to the beach, and swim between the flags. In New Zealand, the beaches are still free, so that's a good activity to do with your children in the period after Christmas, where you think, oh, Christmas is over, spent a lot of money. How do I entertain the children? So those are some of the things that you can do, and just as this period moves on, I do also want to touch very briefly on on goals, and people call them New Year's resolutions that people normally make in the 1st of January or something like that. I'd suggest just forgetting about the New Year's resolution, but look a bit 3-5 years out, and take some time out and plan what you'd like to do, and actually put some things in place, and go from there with it. And if you need to get help with it, then do go ahead and get help. I think that's a better way to go about planning for the next year ahead and the next 3 to 5 years, is by just taking the time out, getting some help with it, and putting clear plans in place, clear goals in place, and clear actions in place, so that you can get yourself closer to your goals in 2020. Because you've all heard this before, that the only thing that's going to happen in 2020, if you don't do anything else, is you're going to be a year older. So so thank you for tuning in this morning. I hope that the information was very helpful for you to survive Christmas, and have a great Christmas and New Year's, and enjoy the time with your family and friends. This is Stephen Diedrichs from Taxile Limited, and here on Radio Kidnappers. So thank you very much.